Hello, welcome to another book review. I'm your host, Kristen, and today I will be reviewing the YA fantasy book House of Night, Hunted, by PC and Kristen Cast. Content warnings in this book are blood, violence, ableism, racism, exotification, slurs, sexism, transphobia, murder, sexual assault, abuse, sex shaming, and homophobia. For this review, I will start with the plot, then world building, and finally the characters. There will also be spoilers in this review. Also, I will be touching upon a scene involving sexual assault, so if that type of content is upsetting, you may want to skip this review. Let's begin. After Neferet succeeds in freeing Kelowna, Zoey and company must flee to the tunnels, in which the Red Fledglings lived in order to avoid capture. However, Kelowna keeps visiting Zoey in her dreams, trying to convince her that she is Aya, the maiden who trapped him underground, and that Zoey is destined to be with him. Meanwhile, Stevie Ray recovers from her arrow wound, while Zoey and company meet with the other Red Fledglings. However, Zoey is certain that her best friend is hiding a secret. After a near-fatal attack from a Ravenmocker, Zoey and her friends must return to the House of Night, where Kelowna and Neferet are waiting for them. Despite the somewhat high stakes in the last book, this one does not really follow through. The first few chapters have Stevie Ray with an arrow through her chest, and the characters take forever to address it, so much so that Stevie Ray loses all of the blood in her body. The tension is further lost when the group makes jokes about the arrow and admires Zoey's tattoos before they tend to Stevie Ray's wounds. Beyond the first few chapters, living in the tunnel doesn't provide much of a challenge or make for character growth. Despite the tunnels being disgusting and dark the first time Zoey went there to rescue Heath, now the tunnels have everything they could need. This includes electricity, beds, blankets, bathroom, food, fridges, and even hot water for showering. In other words, now that the group has everything, they have zero reason to go above ground. How much more exciting would it have been to see them struggle to find food, or have the Red Fledglings almost turn on everyone from hunger, or have to make a dangerous supply run in the deserted town? When Zoey is attacked, it's only because she dove in front of the Ravenmocker to save one of her boyfriends, but never thinks to fight the creature with just her elements. Heath was only outside the tunnels to start with due to petty boyfriend drama. That's what causes Zoey's wound. Boyfriend drama. For the world building, the reader gets to learn more about Kelowna, along with a pledge for vampires called a warrior's oath. In terms of Kelowna and Neferet, they have controlled the fledglings, warriors, and most of the teachers through magic. These people suffering from mind control cannot be reasoned with, and their perspective is only what Kelowna and Neferet want them to see and recall. Remember that. In doing so, they get the entire school, except for a few teachers, to act hostile toward Zoey and company, which is more a mild annoyance than anything else. Why didn't they just make their army from there, or send them after Zoey? That would have been way more exciting. As for the warrior's oath, it is a pledge a vampire can take that allows them to sense the emotions of the high priestess in order to come to her aid. Not much is really done with the oath besides just introducing it and using it once. Although I didn't think it was possible, Zoey sinks to a new low in this book, possibly the lowest she has ever gotten besides when she committed manslaughter. Back in the House of Night, while getting out of the infirmary, she and a warrior named Darius come across two fledglings named Stark and Becca. In the previous book, Stark died and came back as a Red Fledgling, under the control of Neferet. Now, in this scene, Stark starts to sexually assault a brainwashed Becca by drinking her blood without her permission. Thankfully, it is stopped there, but Stark says he would have gone further and also states that he is clearly no longer controlled by Neferet, meaning that he is doing this out of his own free will. The next day, however, after Becca, who is still brainwashed, snarks at Zoey and says it's about time that Zoey and Eric broke up. In retaliation, Zoey purposely makes fun of Becca and says how pathetic Becca looked last night. Let me repeat that. Zoey makes fun of and shames a victim for being sexually assaulted. What the actual hell? How did the casts think that this was acceptable? How did the editors think this was acceptable? How did the publishers think this was acceptable? I don't care if Zoey ends up saving the world or not. She cannot come back from this. She is utter scum. For another MC, Stevie Ray doesn't do much in this book. She has an arrow removed from her chest, which is poorly described, and she introduces the red fledglings. That's about it. The twins and Damien are still background characters. That's their arcs now. However, they do constantly insult and are mean to Stark, which I appreciate. Unfortunately, the twins also make fun of Aphrodite by combining her name with a slur that was historically used against lesbians. They also think it's hilarious that Aphrodite and Stevie Ray imprinted, which is a bond in vampire society, as if bisexuality is something to laugh at. So, I still hate them. Aphrodite also doesn't do much in the novel besides getting drunk, which was a little funny, but it was mostly annoying. And here we come to the biggest issue I have with this series to date. Stark, who, after sexual assault, is redeemed fairly quickly. I'm not kidding. They redeem a rapist in this book. Basically, after Kelowna visits Zoey's dreams, Stark, who has been watching Zoey sleep the entire time, offers to sleep next to her because Kelowna apparently doesn't like competition. After a small conversation about inner fears, which doesn't amount to much, Stark leaves. However, when Zoey's friends rightfully hate Stark for what he did, Zoey struggles to not leap to his defense. After one day, Zoey tries to not immediately defend a person who committed sexual assault and say he's not that bad. Why? Because Stark was nice to her. Worse is Stark's actual redeeming moment. He pledges a warrior's oath to Zoey, not Becca, the person he actually hurt, but Zoey. After that, he changes into a red vampire, signaling that he has been redeemed. So, according to this book, a person who committed sexual assault can be absolved of all their crimes, one of the worst crimes you can do to a person, if they just say, "Oh, but I'm sorry." So yeah, I hate Stark and think he is utter scum much like Zoey. They deserve each other. Despite having mind control powers, Nephra and Kelowna don't use them much. The most they do is take over the school, and that's it. They still teach regular classes, they still stay in the state. Despite being able to kill with her mind, Nephra wants to go through the system channels to be elected, when she can just off the High Council herself and be done with it. They also discuss their evil plan in front of Zoey, just before Zoey wakes up in the infirmary. How cliché can you get? Worst villains ever. Overall, I give this book 1 star. I doubt I need to list the details why. This book was appalling, especially with the way it handled serious topics. I would never recommend it to anyone. We're not even halfway through.